Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new Fallout 76 news video. Today we have a whole load of new information about Expeditions that has been data mined, alongside information about the PTS and the Pennant, and the return of Hunt for the Treasure Hunter. So, let's jump into it. Okay then, so yeah, first up we're going to go through the stuff that's in the Inside the Vault blog post that Bethesda put out last night. There's a couple of quick things to go through here, it's not too bad, and then we'll go on to the Expedition stuff in the second half of the video, as that'll give those who want to avoid any spoilers, anything like that, a chance to duck out and still get the rest of the news. So, first and foremost, Inside the Vault. Okay, so we have a shiny picture of the lighthouse there. It's cool, Landview Lighthouse. I like my pictures a bit more, but it's an awesome location. So we have the Inside the Vault blog post, quite a short one today, not vast amount of new news. So the first big thing here is on the PTS. Obviously the PTS is running at the moment. You can play it either through Bethesda.net or Steam if you're on PC. Unfortunately, it's still not on console. Unlikely to happen there, I think, but here's what it is. If you do want to test it out, do hop in there. It is, of course, free and everything, so you can try that all out. They are testing this summer's Test Your Metal update, so you can check out the 3 new events coming with the game, as well as corpse highlighting as well. So that's Test Your Metal, Eviction Notice, and Moonshine Jamboree. They're all quite good fun. If you do want to check them out, have a look at the cards up in that corner, that little I button. There'll be links on there to all of my previous videos on the 3 events, so you can check those out, have a look. There's a good bit of information there, a little bit of footage and stuff. So you can have a little peek at those. So if you do try it out and you want to get the pennant, all you have to do is log into the PTS and load into a world. At that point, you've done enough to get the pennant. Nice and easy, which is very, very cool. Recently, Bethesda have not been mentioning the pennant quite as early as they used to. I think it's just kind of a given that it's coming, but clearly people want to know about it, so here it is. Just a bit of a rendering of it here. We've got a Mr. Handy who's looking decidedly sinister, and a Vault Boy who is packing some artillery from the look of that. But that fits with Test Your Metal, so makes sense. Obviously, a rendering rather than the actual final in-game version of it there, but you get the general idea. So yeah, if you do want to test it out, which I recommend you do, the event's quite good fun. Not perfect yet, a few kinks to work out. That's what the PTS is for after all. But yeah, do give it a go, test them out, and then jump onto the Discord and head over there and send your feedback to Bethesda as well. Give them any shout-outs on bugs and issues and things that can be fixed and improved, because I'm sure they will appreciate the feedback. This is, after all, what it's all about. So, point number 2, the last thing that's really in this blog post, is the return of Hunt for the Treasure Hunter. So once again, the Treasure Hunter mole miners are popping up all over Appalachia. You can find them on the open world on the surface, not in enclosed locations. And your best bet to find them is to hop around the map to locations that have lots of separate enemy spawn points. So if you look at places that have many different groups of enemies spawning, so Morgantown's an easy example. You know, as you explore the town, there's lots of little clusters of enemies around it. Each one of those clusters has a chance to spawn a mole miner treasure hunter. So that principle applies on the whole map. But that's your best bet for finding them. For those who have Fallout first, jump into private worlds and do it, because there's no competition for the enemies there. Obviously, whilst hunting treasure hunter mole miners is a great way to find legendaries and farm those up, which is always cool, the most efficient way to actually get the rewards from the event is to buy the mole miner pails, the empty ones from vendors, and craft them. So there's about 21 or so of them from various vendors around. Obviously, there's the White Spring, all the train stations, and a few other vendors knocking around the game as well. Best bet is to buy that medium-tier, mid-tier pail, because you get decent drop odds, and it's considerably cheaper than the most expensive ones. It'll cost you roughly 14 or so thousand caps in order to buy a full set on a loop, and then you'll have to wait a day for them to all reset, of course. Then you can head over to a Tinker's Workbench, craft them up, and open those pails and see what rewards you get. There are unfortunately no new rewards on this occasion, but the list of rewards is quite extensive, and I don't know about you guys, but I still have a good lot of them still to find. We opened a load of them on stream last night, and I didn't have a great deal of luck, unfortunately. But what can you do? It's the way it goes sometimes. That's RNG for you. So I'll definitely have to jump in and test that out again over the weekend to see if I can pick up some more plans, because particularly that fountain I really want to get, and I haven't yet. So definitely got to get onto that one. So that's all the stuff in the Inside the Vault blog post. Just a short one, but not a huge amount going on at the moment. There's a whole load of other weekend events and stuff lined up for the coming weeks and months as well, though, so plenty to keep us busy. But we also have some data mines from the PTS about Expeditions. So there's a few snippets of information here that's new, there's a bit of stuff that's confirmation, and it's quite interesting to have a look at. As per a little warning before we dive in, obviously this is unreleased content. Everything's subject to change. It hasn't even hit the PTS yet. This is just snippets that have been pulled out of the files. So if you want to avoid it, or you want to avoid any potential spoilers, of which there are a couple in here, then this will be the opportunity to bow out. But for those who do want to have a look at it, let's have a look at the Reddit page. Okay, so this was posted a couple of days ago. I'll give a shout out to Gears the Cool, who posted this on Reddit. It's a fairly detailed post. There's some cool stuff in here. Some stuff that I already knew about in here. Some stuff that clearly a poster actually didn't. But there's some cool stuff that I didn't know about as well. So looking forward to going through this. A little nod to Grey Chaos as well, who kindly pointed out that this post existed to me last night on stream. So thumbs up for that one. Much appreciated. And yeah, let's have a look at this. So, new Expedition Datamine, patch 3536 PTS. So, new information found in the interface files, which confirms some prior ideas as well as updates some others. Cool. So, we have a few little pop-ups, things like that from in-game. We've got the fanfare for Expedition Complete, which is what pops up anytime you finish an event or any kind of activity. You get the little Vault Boy animation, stuff like that. So that's in there now. We've got a secondary Return to the Vertibird, Go Back to Appalachia pop-up thing that comes. So basically what we can infer from that, obviously, is that once you've completed your tasks for the expedition, you have to return to the Vertibird in order to go back to Appalachia. Not a massive surprise, kind of figure that out from the fact we're travelling by Vertibird, that the pit is a fair distance from Appalachia, so on and so forth. That makes sense. But it also confirms that you have to actually go to the Vertibird to go back, which means you can also choose not to do that. So if you do want to explore around the pit and the expedition's locations, outside of just doing the actual mission, you are able to do that. We also know from previous interviews that Mark Tucker did, the design director on 76, that there is no timer for expeditions. So once you're there, you can take as long as you like about it, potter around, explore, see what's what, all that good stuff. So a little extra confirmation on how that's going to pan out coming in here. So there's another expedition completed pop-up thing and a completed objectives header. So we know there are going to be objectives. Not terribly surprising. To have progression of some kind that's not timer-based, you need objectives, and even the things that we've got in-game already that are timer-based, they have objectives, so, you know, fairly obvious, but nonetheless. And there is another header related to expeditions as well. So there is a subheader. This one has sort of a subheading to give you some flavor text, kind of like the blurb on a book, in terms of what expeditions are. And that reads, survivor groups beyond Appalachia have made contact, travel to new territories and help rebuild the wasteland. This is a slightly polished up version of stuff we've seen before. We kind of knew that, but external groups outside of Appalachia get in touch, presumably with the Brotherhood of Steel. There's more stuff coming here that will kind of confirm that. And agreement is made to go and help them out, see what's what, and do these expeditions. A little bit more on that is Vertibirds are standing by at the White Springs Resort for travel to expedition locations outside of Appalachia. Nothing new there, really. We knew we were travelling by Vertibird already, or we pretty much knew anyway. And we knew it was coming from the White Spring as well. Obviously, previous data mines have confirmed that, and Mark Tucker, design director, as I mentioned before, he's also confirmed that in interviews as well, so that's not particularly new. Vertibird travel requires fully charged ultrasight batteries. Batteries are filled by completing daily fuel quests. So a couple of things here. Mentioned a little bit further down here, but there was an ultrasight battery found in Steel Dawn, the first half of the Brotherhood of Steel questline, when you're going underneath Atlas Observatory with Scribe Valdez, if I remember rightly there. I think that was where it was. So that was quite cool, and if it's linking back to that, that's cool to see that happening. Scribe Valdez is being involved is not a massive surprise. If you actually dive into her dialogue, you find out that she's got a background in repairing and maintaining vertibirds anyway. That's kind of her thing. So her involvement is not surprising at all. The use of ultrasight batteries, well, I guess they've kind of retrofit them as a fuel source for the vertibirds, which kind of makes sense. You've got to use what's available in the apocalypse. So, yeah, that fits. And you've got to charge them up by completing daily fuel quests. So, a couple of things here. We're charging the batteries, so you're not actually fueling the vertibird, you're fueling, presumably, a charging port for the battery. Kind of makes sense, that works. As good a way of doing it as any. The daily bit is particularly interesting, that fuel quests are dailies. From that, I would take, and this is somewhat speculation, I would take away from that you're not going to be able to get enough fuel to do an expedition in a single day. It sounds like you'll have to repeat that quest a few times in order to gain enough fuel to fully charge the battery and then send the vertibird out, because it has to be fully charged to launch an expedition, as we're going to see here. So my guess there is you won't be doing expeditions every day. It's potentially conceivable, and we'll touch on this again in a moment, that if you're in a group, you might be able to do them more often. But more likely, my theory personally, is that the daily will fill up a quarter of that progress bar, and you'll be able to launch an expedition every 4 days or so. And it's pure speculation again, and it's just a theory, but the reason I think that is because that roughly adds out to just over 1 expedition a week, which is more for people who play the most. But for those who aren't able to be in every day, that's a bit more manageable than, say, taking 7 days to fully fill that progress bar. I could be completely wrong on this, but that seems like a better balance and a more likely balance. But obviously, pre-release, pre-PTS, data mines, pure speculation, so we'll have to see. That's my personal theory. So, team leaders can assemble groups and use the map to begin a new expedition, so you can launch expeditions from the map. That's interesting. Slightly less fun than going to the White Spring, though. Teams may return to Appalachia and resume the same expedition at any time. So, the fact that you can go backward and forward and just basically pause your expedition, head out to the pit, start your expedition, go back to Appalachia for a while, do whatever you want to do there, and then go back to the pit again without having to fully recharge the vertibird, I would assume this is implying. It seems to be the case. Is definitely a win. It makes the whole thing more flexible. I can't see myself doing that a whole lot, because obviously there's going to be loading screens involved, going to an entirely new map. But in terms of going backward and forward, you can if you need to, want to, if you run out of ammo or whatever. I assume you'll be able to stock up on ammo while you're there as well if you want to, but hypothetically, if you want to go back and stock up on something that you can't do there, that's an option. I'm guessing you'll be able to access your stash from within expeditions. It doesn't make a whole lot of logistical sense, really, but from a practical gameplay mechanic, I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case. Although, it might add a little bit of pressure to it and a little bit of planning required, which fits with the expedition theme, so who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the ability to go backward and forward, that's quite cool. A little bit from our poster here that shows a few things, some news speculated and some unknown. You can stay in an expedition after it completes. Yeah, it looks likely to be the case. We already knew it wasn't timer-based, and Bethesda are not dumb. They know that we're going to want to explore this new location. I'd be astonished if they didn't facilitate that. From what Mark Tucker has said, and from what we're pulling out the data mines here, that seems likely that you will be able to explore it. We know there's new factions, characters, enemies, all manner of stuff like that there as well, so people are going to want to go and see what's what with that. So that's fairly a given, I think. And we see potential confirmation for the idea that fuel only counts for the leader in team section, as well as hard confirmation for being able to pause and resume expeditions. So for the team thing, logically, the team leader would have to be the one who has the fuel. That makes sense, and it seems like the likely scenario. It's also conceivable, though I think slightly less likely, that the team's combined fuel might come together to create a combined total, so that you can do expeditions more often that way if you're on a team, If you've each got a quarter of the fuel bar, for example, you might be able to launch it straight away. There's nothing to confirm that. I wouldn't be surprised if they went that way, although I think it's the less likely of the two possibilities. I think this is probably right here. But we'll have to wait and see until we actually get the PTS and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, cool little bit of extra detail. So, we have a more fully realized expedition or post-expedition interface element here. This is quite cool. We're going to have a little look at that. It says post-match, which I don't like much because it implies competitive nature, which is not the case. But yeah, post-expedition interface element. Let's have a look at that. So the interesting thing here that we've got was expedition completed. Not sure what the money thing is. Basically, this is placeholder, I think, is what the detail is. Union Dues is the expedition title. We know there's going to be multiple different missions. How many there'll be on launch? We don't know yet. We'll find out nearer the time. But there's almost certainly going to be more than one at launch. And it also adds the ability for them to add new ones and more variety post-expedition's launch. We know they'll add new locations to the expedition's options in time. But new missions is more likely first, because obviously new locations they again have to build basically from the ground up. That's going to take a while. So we've got a complete objective header, fine, and then we have multiple sub-objectives. So from this could be complete expedition objectives and then a list of the objectives, or it could be one overall objective and then sub-objectives. Either way, it looks like 4 objectives. My guess here on 4 is, although we've got just objective number 1 complete 4 times, it wouldn't make any sense for that to be the final version. But what we've got here is a space where 4 headings fit. So it seems likely that this whole thing is designed around the way the elements are going to be, not the way they're not going to be. So 4 objectives per mission seems likely given the size of this space, the fact that's what fits. So 4 different things to tackle in order to complete your mission makes a great deal of sense. The rewards screen is interesting. Again, all placeholder. We've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 10 possible rewards dropping. Doesn't necessarily mean that all of these are going to be full all the time. On the other hand, when you look back to Daily Ops, although the layout is completely different, the list of rewards is actually quite long down that side of the screen. So it's quite possible we'll have a lot of different things. I mean, one could be caps, another one might be bullion or something like that. A couple of legendaries, some grenades, maybe some rare rewards, some other bits and pieces as well. But you can fill it up fairly quickly. So I'm going to stop trying to read too much into this right now because, you know, it's an exercise in futility, really. But cool to see this nonetheless. Okay, so this reveals a lot could be assumed about expeditions but wasn't confirmed. Instead of time, rewards are based on objective completion. We already knew it wasn't time. An objective completion, what else is it going to be if it's not time, you know? Yeah, this is not particularly a big surprise to me. It doesn't strike me as a revelation. Rewards having a lot more room than on the Daily Ops element. They've got more space on there. I don't think the actual numbers are that much higher because you can get a long list of rewards in Daily Ops, so I don't entirely agree with that sentiment. While not shown on the frame, the SWF itself has an icon for an expedition currency. Okay, new currency? Do we not have enough already? Not sure I'm keen on that. You can't really see this in any kind of detail here. It's tiny and very, very pale, so hard to see what's going on there. But nonetheless, a potential new currency, potentially. The suggestion here that instead of pure RNG rewards, expeditions might pay out currency to allow players to unlock the rewards they want. That'd be cool. Bypassing some of the RNG, I think, will probably be popular with the player base, to be honest. Rack up a load of currency, pick the thing you want, that makes sense. It's kind of the way, obviously, Wastelanders works with the gold bullion system, but at the same time, the list is too long for it just to be a currency thing on that previous screen we saw. So my guess is that you'll get a whole list of rewards, circa Daily Ops style, and then one of those rewards might be this new currency that will allow you to buy some unique stuff to expeditions. Seems like a possible way it might go. Again, this is the first we've heard of this, though, so very, very early. Any speculation is very, very tenuous at this point, but it's an interesting thought. The idea that you get to select the rewards you want instead of just pure RNGing it is, yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I mean, sooner or later, I'll probably want to pick up most things, certainly everything camp-related and any cool weapons and armor and stuff like that. So I guess we'll be doing expeditions for quite a while. So we've got a previously used image for the pit. That's fine. We have a quest animation for the fuel quests, the dailies. That's quite cool. Let's have a look at that. So just a little gif of Vault Boy charging up the battery. That's fine. Very standard. That's obviously something that's going to pop up when you've completed a daily on there. That's cool. We've got a background on a Vault Boy for an Expedition public team. That's cool. If that is for sure, I mean, the details of this being confirmed for public teams is a bit tenuous, but if it is public team, I wouldn't be surprised to see a new Expeditions type public team coming on. Generally, as things are at the moment, the only public teams I really see popping very often are Daily Ops and Casual, which leaves us with 4 types of public team that don't get used a whole lot. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see some of the least popular public team types come out and be replaced with something that's a bit more usable, like an Expeditions public team. That makes sense. So there's a couple of things here tying into Season 9, which is the one coming over the summer, which is actually the season before Expeditions. Not a massive surprise to see a tie-in there. They'll want to build it up and hype up the next update, especially as it's the big one. So kind of not surprised to see some Expeditions-related stuff coming in that season. Let's have a look at what some of this stuff is. So we've got a Patrioteer outfit, Season 9 item, which mentions the Union in its description. Show your support for the Union with the Patrioteer outfit, which looks like this. Obviously, this is a data mined image, and they never look that great because they don't have lighting models and stuff on, or not much of one. But we've got kind of a pair of jeans, pair of knee-high boots almost. Looks like a load of tape holding those jeans together. That kind of makes sense 20 years into the wasteland. Nobody making denim anymore. And a jacket. It's kind of got a cowboy vibe to it, but also a bit post-apocalyptic with the kind of nuts and bolts on the shoulders and stuff. That's quite cool. Not sure how that relates into the faction, but definitely quite interesting. And there is a description for a Season 9 Super Sledge skin, which is not very interesting itself. It's kind of dark tone red, got some flames on it, bit of a hot rod thing. It describes it as take down those goody-goody Union representatives with the Union Buster Super Sledge paint. And the textures file name apparently mentions the Fanatics, who I would never have picked up on this, so shout out to our poster here on this one, are a group of, presumably, raiders that the Hellcats dealt with previously, according to dialogue available in Steel Rain. Now, I wouldn't have picked up on that because it's been a while since I did Steel Rain. But that's quite cool. Implies the Union we've already heard about as a faction that are going to be present in the pit. But the Fanatics now sound like an alternate faction who are in opposition to the Union. That makes sense. Maybe Raider-ish, maybe a bit different, maybe with a bit more personality than Raiders. I hope that's the case. But nonetheless, that means a secondary opposing faction, which is quite cool. It also sounds maybe like we might be doing some missions for them too. If there's a tone of opposition there and taking down the Union representatives in that Super Sledge description, why would they do that unless there's a mission that goes against the Union? I don't know. On the other hand, being on one side or the other kind of feels like it makes more sense as well. So speculation, who knows? Maybe it's just a flavorful, descriptive thing that relates to the other faction. Could just be that. Interesting thought nonetheless. And there is a picture there for the PTS Pennant for the upcoming playtest, which will be obviously over the summer for Expeditions. Not particularly interesting, it's just a skyline of the pit. As to whether or not I want to jump into that, I really have mixed feelings, because I kind of don't want to spoil the story. It's not going to be heavily story-based content, we know this already. But there is obviously going to be some story to Expeditions, and I kind of don't want to ruin that for myself. But at the same time, a major new update like this, I really want to jump into the PTS, test it out, give you guys a sneak peek before it comes out, all that good stuff. So I will probably do that. I may not dive into the lore and stuff, we may save that for when the thing actually drops, but having a look at the objectives and the missions and stuff like that is probably a thing I'll do. Obviously, the PTS is still a way away, so is Expeditions in general. It'll likely be September before that drops. So, quite long there, quite a bit of a ramble. Big shout out to Gears Cool for the work on data mining this and sharing it in a pretty nice clear form on there. A couple of things that are not particularly news to me. There's some interesting confirmation in there as well though, which is very, very cool. And yeah, always hyped up to hear more about Expeditions. Very much looking forward to jumping into that new content. It should be really good fun. Definitely looking forward to that. Obviously, my speculation regarding how often we're going to be able to do Expeditions is purely speculation at this point, so don't latch onto that too much in any particular way, but yeah, my guess is maybe once, twice a week. It doesn't sound like a daily thing, but as I say, all pre-release, all speculation, so we'll find out more as we get closer, as we get interviews, we get data mines, and we get PTS in the summer. So, yeah, lots of very, very cool stuff. Big shout out to Gears of Cool for that post on Reddit. Very, very cool. It's kind of disappeared down a little bit, so I'll drop you a link down there if you want to peruse it yourself. Not again to Gray for the shout out on stream last night. I appreciate the heads up on that. I would completely have missed this otherwise, so very, very cool. Appreciate that. And on that note, I hope you guys found this useful and informative. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. Obviously, tons more Fallout news coming as and when it drops, so this is the place to get it. If you did enjoy the video, please do consider checking out the description for the social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all that good stuff, and supporting the channel in that way. It really, really helps out, and I very, very much appreciate it. So, massive thank you to everybody who's done that already, and join us for live streams as well. We are, of course, playing our way through 76, and playing a few other bits and pieces as well. We've got Ghostwire Tokyo kicking off next week as well, which should be fun. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.